I can't, this is going to be great. Her episode's amazing. Hi, Deanna. Yeah, you're unmuted. You're good now.
Can you, okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. So your episode is number 10 on health and wealth. So it is lessons learned from healing cancer. Again, health and wealth. Episode 10, lessons learned from healing cancer. So we're not going to reiterate all parts of your show because I want people to go listen to episode 10 because you had cancer and you healed cancer and you had lessons learned from cancer. So that's enough right there. And in fact, I've already shared your episode with someone before the show even launched. Someone reached out to me who I think she joined my inner circle and she just got diagnosed with lung cancer. And so she said, I think it's the perfect time for me to have joined and so I sent her all these different things. And one of the things was your episode. And she thanked me because now she had hope. And,
oh, great.
Yeah. So in case I'm just letting you know that you were one of the first episodes. I don't even know if the episode was up yet, if iTunes even had it up, but I copied the link from the publisher and sent it to her directly and said, listen to this. Like I couldn't wait. So what I want to talk about today is, since our interview, and this could be, so in the last, let's say 6 months to a year, is there another lesson or two that's become front and center for you? Something, another tip or tool that you think, you know what, this is really important. I need to talk about this more. This is working for me or my clients. And I want people to understand that. That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a really great question, JJ. And the things that has really come front and center for me is really the need to rest. And I know that almost sounds kind of counterintuitive in our culture, because we value productivity and activity. But without regular rest, and I mean at least one day a week, I have found that, I can't be, serving to the best of my abilities. I basically, for those who listen to the episode, I kind of came from a military background and became a holistic health coach. And I basically applied that same work ethic. And I just took it from, one career and brought it into another where, military, we're just working 24/7. And I quickly found out that, I can't, it's not sustainable. And so I have learned that it's really important to really, carve out some time, whether it's weekly or even daily. And what I do is I actually start out my day, connected to nature. I happen to like the beach. And so I go to the beach every morning and it really sets the tone for the day. So in other words, the morning is mine and that's where I can meditate, I can pray, and just really become aware of what's going on within. I just think that's really important because when you have that task list, it's just so easy to just run away with that and just check everything off, and then you go to sleep, and then you wake up the next day and you're kind of off to the races again. And when you do that, you're not going to be able to really be at your best. And that's something that I help my clients with too, because and I specialize in cancer. And what I have found with a lot of the people who get diagnosed with cancer is that they have this, it's wonderful. They're almost kind of selfless, really. They're always constantly trying to help other people. But in the process of doing that, they lose sight of themselves, and so they get run down, their immune system gets run down, and then cancer can, kind of take a hold. Everyone has cancer cells, and so it's a matter of our immune system, if it's strong enough to take care of those cancer cells. And when we run ourselves down, we can't. And so that's something I also help my clients to really build in some time for rest, because I just think that, there's a lot of workaholics out there. I was one of them. And sometimes you have to rein yourself in. You have to kind of get out of your own way and just kind of step back. And it's important to do that on a regular basis. It's not good enough to just okay, we're just going to take a 1 to 2 week vacation somewhere, you know, chill out, and then you come back and then it's off to the races again. This is really building in a regular routine rest time. And it's more than just, you know, the 8 hours of sleep. It's actually, you know, dedicating a full day a week. That's what I like to do. And then I dedicate, you know, 2 hours in the morning to just be at the beach and just to meditate and to just, you know, rest and not think, you know, just to be.
For people who work for someone else, you know, as entrepreneurs, you know, we're just talking about workaholism in Doug's session because his show is episode 13 on health and wealth called Workaholism and Anxiety. You know, for someone who is, and I want to get back to, I'm going to give you a question you can think about, but you know, when you, because workaholism is an addiction, and any addiction, control issues, shopping, being on devices, coffee, sugar, overeating, obviously alcohol and drugs, pot. Okay, these are all addictions that we use to numb ourselves. And numb, not numb, avoid feeling something. So I want to know, because I don't think we talked about this, what did your workaholism avoid you from being present with? But before you answer that, and you can think about that, I want to address what I started with, which was for those people who aren't entrepreneurs and don't have the flexibility, or they don't think they have the flexibility of spending 2 hours in the morning on themselves or taking a day off a week. What would you tell those people who are employees?
I would say that no matter, even if you're working for somebody, you know, the morning is really a very special time. Even if you have to, you know, get up earlier, and that would mean basically going to bed, you know, just go to bed an hour earlier, get up an hour earlier. You know, we've kind of, you know, become disconnected from nature in a way. You know, we need to be tied, you know, to the circadian rhythm based on the sun. And because of modern technology with electricity and lights and all that, it's become easy for us to kind of work into the night. And so, you know, we think it's normal to sleep at midnight or, you know, after 1. But really, for optimal health, you should be asleep by 10 p.m. at the latest, in order for certain hormones, you know, to be generating in your body. And so if you can go to bed an hour earlier, get up an hour earlier, and just have that quiet time, you know, and it might be early, it might be before the sun even comes up. And that's okay, because you'll find that when you know, you start your day more centered like that, it's going to change the rest of your day. You know, you won't be quite as effective. I mean, there's, you know, there's always going to be taskers and suspenses that are, you know, due like yesterday, but, you know, and so all this might swirl around you, but you still feel this inner peace and calm no matter what's going on around you. And it just helps.
I want to address what you said
Uh-huh.
about 10 o'clock. Jeannie and I have talked about in the show too, that's like between like the most important hours to be sleeping, to get the deep REM sleep that creates your hormones and really resets you, is between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. But definitely if you try to get to bed by 10, likelihood is you'll be in that deep REM sleep by 11 and get that 11 to 2 slot. But when people work past that 11, 12 o'clock, you can't catch up. It's actually, it will drain your adrenals as well. And you never recover, you never replenish what you already have, like what you need, because you're working overtime. So definitely on that. And I agree that, you know, you can manage your mornings, and you probably also could just take like a weekend. I know some people use the weekends when they work for somebody else. They use the weekends to catch up on things that they didn't do in their personal life. So maybe they're doing projects, or maybe they're doing things that, and while I understand that that's necessary, I also probably know you'd recommend take one of those days, don't do anything, or get some help on getting some of those things accomplished, so that you could have a day to rest and for yourself. So on a day, like you said, you take a day a week, what do you do during that day?
That day, I spend most of my time out on the beach. I could spend a good, you know, 4 to 6 hours on the beach. And while it may seem like, you know, initially it might seem like a waste of time, I can't tell you just the amount of things I've discovered. I mean, just the sea life and And it's allowed me to see, you know, my small part in this amazing creation, this world that we live in. And I just think it's important to really reconnect with that, um, you know, and not be so driven, you know, by everything. You know, for my case, you know, I mean, to answer your question earlier about what I was running away from, it was really getting in touch with what's going on within me. You know, I kind of lost sight of that. I was so into, you know, just taking care of the mission, taking care of the people, you know, and all these different achievements for my bosses, you know, and for my parents when I was younger. Part of that was, you know, due to my own insecurities. You know, I never felt like I was good enough. And so that's what drove just the constant busyness activity, because I felt like I had to, you know, do something, you know, just to have some self-worth. Um, and so when I realized that, you know, every person, you know, is valuable and has worth regardless of, you know, what it is that you do. And I came to this conclusion, you know, when I was actually in hospice, you know, literally laying on my deathbed, I had to ask myself the question, now that I can't do what I do, am I any less valuable as a person? You know, and I concluded no. And so it's not in what you do. You know, it's easy to identify or, you know, just kind of find your self identity in the things that you do, you know, the different roles we take on in life. But that's not, you know, that's not really the full solution as far as, you know, finding your self-worth. It's really comes from within. You know, just the fact that we're here, and you know, we're just a part of this bigger creation. And you know, when we can move into our purpose and destiny, sometimes it's not in the doing, it's really in the being first.
Great answer. And I want to, you know, in terms of the beach and the grounding aspect of the beach, you know, there are people who are all over the world who listen to my shows, and I don't know who is on right now, like wherever everybody is. But I want to point out that I'm sitting on a grounding mat, for those
Hey,
of you,
that's
a
awesome.
ground therapy mat,
Uh-huh.
because it is to me, it's an insurance of, if I can't get outside to be touching the earth, at least I'm touching this
Mm-hmm.
grounding mat. I have a grounding mat, sleeping mattress, sleeping pad for the bed. I had Clint Ober on the show and Meryl Hemingway. So for anyone that didn't see that, I have a deal on getting a mattress pad and a free universal mat. So that's at jjflizanes.com/earthing. But this, you know, the grounding part, and I'm not saying that makes up for taking time off. Just because you sit on a grounding mat doesn't mean you still should be a workaholic because you think you're grounding by sitting on an earthing. No. But it's just a way to, again, continue to ground a little bit deeper. So what are some other options people might have for, you know, you said you go to the beach all day. Do you have any other suggestions for someone who lives in a climate that they don't have access to the beach? And it's not necessarily, you know, I agree with you with nature. Again, that's why I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
mention the mat, and nature would be the first choice. And you don't have to buy a mat. If you live in nature, go be in nature. You can ground every day for free. Just do it. But if you don't have that because of weather, what do you think?
I think that it doesn't have to be anything like a beach. It can be like someone's backyard. You know, grounding, you can do that by putting your feet in the bare grass. If it's cold where you live, like it is, you know, right now in many parts of this country, go outside for a walk, you know, or cross country ski, you know, or bike. There's a lot of different things you can do, but like, I mean, just simply walking around a block is better than, you know, just staying indoors the whole time.
So one of the things that I had asked everyone to do, and Deanna did as well, is for today's launch, which you can get all the free gifts at healthandwealthgifts.com, was to offer something that you don't normally offer for free.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us a little bit about what your offer is so people know what they're getting?
Yes, I've created a passion journal because I wanted to create something that would be a tool for people to basically identify, you know, what your passion is. Because if you don't know what your passion is, you know, I just feel like life is too short to be doing something that you don't enjoy. And so you need to take time out. And so just like I was mentioning, you know, just starting your day out connected to nature, you know, I created this passion journal. You can print it out and just, you know, bring it with you. And, you know, there's enough for each day. you basically just, it'll ask you some questions and you just start journaling. And in this process of journaling, you can discover what really makes your heart sing, because that's what you really ought to be doing in life. Because when your heart sings, you won't feel like you're working a day in your life, because you will find that you'll be kind of in your purpose and destiny, where you're probably serving others, and it becomes so meaningful that it's really not work, it's not drudgery. And so I would just encourage you to go download it, give it a try, and see what it does.
So again, you can get that at healthandwealthgifts.com. There are over $2,000 worth of free health and wealth swag bag items. And so I appreciate, Deanna, that you offered that to us. And I've got some free stuff on there. Jay has free stuff on there. Doug has free stuff on there. Everyone who's coming on today has free stuff on there. And it's stuff that I asked them to something that they charge for to offer for free. And that was to celebrate, again, the launch of Health and Wealth. And so I really would love everyone to go check out Deanna's episode. And that's episode 10, Lessons Learned from Healing Cancer. Please subscribe, rate, and review. And even if you can't subscribe because you subscribe to too many other things, although there's only 20 episodes up and there'll only be 23-ish for now. But if you love them all, definitely subscribe, because the next time I put up another show, you'll be notified of that. And at least rate and review it. That would be awesome in exchange for all these wonderful free gifts that we're offering you today. So Deanna, what are you on to next, and what are you working on to serve your clients and the rest of us more in the areas of healing cancer or coming back to yourself?
Yeah, there's two things, JJ. I'm working on my book to share not only my story of how I, got diagnosed with cancer, but how I recovered from it, more importantly. And then I'm also working on an online course on healing cancer, so that for those who aren't able to work directly with me one-on-one, at least they can still access all the information for themselves and go through that whole, it's a holistic process that I've developed to heal people.
I don't want to give away too much of the episode because it's all there, but can you just tell people the very small story about what the cancer was? You said you were laying in hospice, you were on your deathbed, and now you're better.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it was ovarian cancer. Both of my lungs collapsed, filled with fluid. I was on oxygen and given 4 weeks to live. And it's miraculous. I really want to, give God thanks, because I know that, I was at that point where I could literally feel life slipping away. But I was able to heal without any chemotherapy, no radiation, and just, changing my diet, changing the way I thought about things, how I handled stress, healing emotionally, and just developing a very strong faith and spirituality practice.
All the things I'm super passionate about sharing. And I was clapping for those of you that did do chemo or have done chemo or would do chemo. That's fine. There's no judgment. What my message is to people is that there are other ways and alternative ways, and to be, to really check in with what's right for you, and to know what you're doing, to be an advocate for your health. I was told, and I say this on the show, I've gone through a recent sort of health thing, although my health wasn't threatened. I wasn't going to die, but I had something where I was told, even by both a medical intuitive and Western medicine, that I needed to have surgery. And I gave my power away to the medical intuitive before I'd give it to Western medicine. And I said, okay. So I went and I had some consultations, and I cried hysterically every single time. And until the third time, I realized that this was my body's way of saying, you don't believe in this. This is not what's right for you. And I'm on the other side of this, and I didn't have surgery. So that story will come out later, right? But I just want people to understand that it's that constant, like, you work with your body, and that there are pros and cons to every choice about your healing. And if you really understand healing, you understand the body can heal itself from most things, even cancer. But there's a reason why you got there in the first place. And again, it's been my passion to always connect these dots, because just like in relationship, I'm going to go back to the Imago conversation for a second that I didn't say. the point of if you get into the imago therapy of you choose your partners to heal the wound of your past, and you understand that there's a purpose that you're together and it wasn't a mistake, then you understand that if you don't heal it, it will repeat itself. And that the next partner and the next partner and the next partner will just be a version of the first partner because you actually didn't heal anything.
Yes.
So that is on the emotional side, but on the physical side, it's the same thing. If you cut the cancer out without ever understanding why it got there in the first place, it may show up again somewhere else. So before you put yourself under radiation or chemotherapy that is super taxing for all of your body, doing a dive into how did I get this in the first place? And you had said this in the beginning, Deanna, we all have cancer cells. We all have cancer cells. We all have the ability to get sick. Even if it's in your genes, there is something called epigenetics, which means the environment will dictate your genetic expression. And that environment is not only physical, it's emotional, mental, spiritual, biochemical. So the environment in which your body is in will dictate if you have genes that express or how they express. So if you're in a cancer toxic environment and your emotions are toxic, then the likelihood is you may have those genes express into cancer. But if you have those same genes in an environment where you're actually happy and you feel great and you're doing what you love and you feel on purpose and you have ways to process emotion and you're eating foods that agree with your body, then the likelihood is that that gene won't express in that way. So it's to really make, epigenetics is a thing, right? It's a real science that really, that your environment will dictate your gene expression. So using the excuse, well, it runs in my family, only means I'm carrying over the habits and the patterns and the beliefs and the energies from my family. It doesn't mean it's a life sentence or that it's going to happen to you. You still get to dictate the environment in which those genes then respond to. I have Bruce Lipton has agreed to come on the show, although we can't schedule quite yet. And he wrote Biology of Belief, and he talks about gene expression in there as well. So I appreciate that you brought that up. And I appreciate that you brought up that you didn't use chemo or radiation and that you were on your deathbed and that you tapped into sort of the connection of again, why I did Fit to Love, why I have Spirit, Purpose, and Energy, why I'm doing Health and Wealth is because they're connected. And we can't separate them. You can, but you don't learn anything. And the likelihood is you repeat the pattern because there's a reason, and it's not to blame you. It's not to blame anyone like it's your fault and you're bad and I'm shaming. That's not it at all. It's to take responsibility for this is happening because something in my world is out of alignment. Now, what is it? Is it physical? Is it spiritual? Is it mental? Is it emotional? What is it? Is it chemical? And then, then you have power in which to do something about it. But if we just decide I have this thing that's happened to me that I don't want, something outside of me must have created it. So let me just take it out or do whatever I need to. The likelihood is it may come back, and it may come back worse. So right. I appreciate your offering that. And if there were any other words of wisdom and advice here today before we wrap up, and to remind everybody that you can get your free gifts from Deanna at healthandwealthgifts.com, healthandwealthgifts.com. Her episode is number 10, Lessons Learned from Healing Cancer. And she goes into detail. So if you know somebody with cancer who's just sort of wondering if there's another way, this is, again, part of my mission of wanting to spread this information, to know you have power. Because answer me this, when you got the diagnosis of having cancer, did you feel at first powerless?
Yes, I felt like something hit me from way out of left field, like the carpet got pulled out from under me, and it was terrifying.
I would imagine that most people feel that. They feel that it's something outside of them that, I'm not a fan of of a lot of the cancer sort of researching things because it makes cancer like a separate thing, like cancer somehow lurking behind the shadows and it attacks us. Like right. we're a victim of cancer. Okay. I do not believe you are a victim of cancer. I believe that your life, your beliefs, your emotions, your epigenetics, your family, all of that has created an environment in which your genes have expressed in this way. At what point did you take your power back from cancer?
So I told you how I was just really afraid. I thought I was going to die a horrific death. I was crying every night in bed. And finally, after I felt just a full extent of the fears that I had, I just like, okay, it's time. I got to do some research. And that's probably, you know, some of my military background. I'm like, okay, I'm confronted with this problem. What am I going to do about it? You know, I can wallow in self-pity and fear, or I can, you know, start doing some research and learning about my condition so I could determine, well, okay, how do I want to heal? Do I want to take all the recommendations from my doctor, or do I want to do something different? And so that's kind of how that evolved. And that's the message really that I want to really kind of, you know, emphasize, is that we're going to have fears, no matter, you know, whether it is you're trying to, you know, start a new business, or you're having some kind of health issue. But the thing is, you don't want to suppress or repress the fears. You want to allow it to come up, but to come up and out of you. The fears will probably still be there, honestly. I mean, it's kind of like a cycle, but you have to be at a place where you can make good decisions that come from a place of power, where you're centered. And that's why, you know, when I talk about, you know, taking the time to connect with nature, to meditate, to pray, that's where that connection will help you to come from a place of power when you have to make these tough decisions. You don't want to come from a place of fear, because, you know, whether you decide to do something because you're afraid of it, or you do something because this is what gives you greatest peace, the outcome will be entirely different. I mean, you know, fear has its own fruits, as does peace. And so you really want to choose what brings you greatest peace.
Excellent. Thank you again. And everyone, I want you to check out Deanna's free gifts. Go to healthandwealthgifts.com. Check out Health and Wealth Podcast. It is a free show. There are 20 episodes up. It looks like this. It is, I don't know if we're on Spotify yet, but we're definitely on Apple Podcasts. I couldn't find it on Spotify the other day, but I could never find anything on Spotify. So I don't even know how people find any of my shows, quite honestly. I was looking for that link. So Apple Podcast is for sure. And then maybe check another podcast player like Podbean or Podcast Addict, or even Google Play. I didn't check all those. But if, you know, at worst case scenario, try to find it on Apple Podcasts, which you can get even if you don't have an iPhone. And you can get it online as well. So please check out Health and Wealth. Please rate and review it. Let me know what you think about it. Get the free gifts, healthandwealthgifts.com. And let's do this, guys. Let's take your power back in your health and your wealth. Have balance and enjoy your life. Life is not a dress rehearsal. We know this, right? With Kobe Bryant, what happened this week, and you know, and every, you know, and it's not just Kobe Bryant. It's people who are, you know, things are happening and we don't know about it. They don't make the news. But it's that reminder of, while on one side, on the spiritual side, when you cross over, everything's all good. And you'll be hearing all of that from Anita Morjani in the next couple of weeks. I did interview her, and she had a near-death experience, just like Dr. Eben Alexander, who will also be back on the show in the next couple of weeks. He had a near-death experience, was in a coma for a week. They'll both tell you that everything's fine over there. But while you're here, while you're in this physical body, let's make the best of it. It doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be painful. You don't have to be miserable. And there are tools and guidance and help and support there for you. You just have to love yourself enough to say yes and ask for it. And so I'm hoping that these gifts I'm giving you today, that Deanna offered, that Doug offered, that Jay offered, and that everyone else who's coming on today is offering, including me, that you'll take advantage of that and make some changes in your life so that you do love your life. So Deanna, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate your episode. I appreciate your being here and your gifts. And I look forward to connecting with you soon when your book is done.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, JJ. Just thanks for all you're doing. This is just really awesome. And I know that this will touch and help a lot of people.
Great. I appreciate it. So please share it with everybody. Let everyone know where they can get the free gifts. And hopefully we'll keep having these conversations today.